are going to be recording this webinar, and we'll share the recording and the slides with you after the presentation. This presentation will last for about 30 minutes, and it will be followed by a Q&A session where we will be answering any of your questions that you have. So throughout the webinar, if you do have a question, please feel free to put it in the chat, and then we will address all questions at the end. With that, let's get started. Welcome to the third and final webinar in our three-part series on impact storytelling. My name is Leah Steinberg, and I am a marketing associate at Evolution Marketing. And joining me today is Lisa Giesenbauer, the president of Evolution Marketing. If you missed the beginning of our series, in our first webinar, we explored the foundations of impact storytelling, discussing its significance and how it can effectively communicate an organization's impact to stakeholders. Last month, we took a deep dive into stakeholder engagement, specifically examining the social aspects of sustainability and how these intersect with impact storytelling. And today, we're excited to bring everything together as we discuss transforming your business using the UN Sustainable Development Goals and the SDG Action Manager tool. During this webinar, we'll explore how the SDG Action Manager can be leveraged within your organization to begin or enhance your environmental and social impact. If you missed those previous webinars, they are available on our website and are an excellent resource for those beginning their sustainability journey. Now, a brief overview of who we are at Evolution Marketing. We are a Wisconsin-based, women-owned, certified B Corp, specializing in global sustainability, environmentally responsible creative design, and ethical marketing. We also offer consulting services within the realm of sustainability storytelling. Since our inception in 2007, our goal has been to lead by example, showing that a small business can deliver high-quality services while operating in an environmentally and socially responsible manner. And since 2018, we have been publicly disclosing our impact actions through impact reports and our memberships with 1% for the Planet, Carbon Fund, and the B Corp certification. Now, I will pass things over to Lisa, and we'll get started.
Thank you so much, Leah. And hello, welcome everybody. So my name is Lisa Giesenbauer, as Leah said. I'm the president of Evolution Marketing, and I'm going to be driving the slides today. So I'm super excited to have you all joining us. We're going to dig into this conversation. Now, I get really excited. So if I cover something that you want to know more about, please put a note in the chat. And please save your questions for the end, and we'll go back through and we'll go through all of your questions. This is such an important topic, and I'm so excited to have you all joining us today. All right, so the topics that we're going to cover today are: what are the SDGs, or the Sustainable Development Goals, and why should we use them? Key terms and definitions, a tool to use to assist with the alignment of your business or organizational goals to the SDGs. And I noticed I just said the word organization because we have business folks as well as nonprofit leaders who may be watching these webinars. And so both business and nonprofits, any type of organization, could use these tools, okay? We're also to cover examples of successfully incorporating the Sustainable Development Goals into impact storytelling, and then we'll wrap up with Q&A. So we're going to kick this off with key terms and definitions. Before I begin, I would like everyone who's here to please put in the chat if you know what the Sustainable Development Goals are, if you're familiar with them. So write familiar, not familiar. Okay, and I just want to see what everybody is saying. So if you're just joining us, please put into the chat if you're familiar or not familiar with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Thank you, Jeffrey, for saying that you're familiar. Alana, familiar? Okay. Everyone's familiar. Okay, awesome. Next question. Emily, only a little familiar. Okay, that sounds good. Next question. Are you currently using the Sustainable Development Goals in your business, either as a storytelling or strategy tool? Put it in the chat. Okay, no? Yes? Oh, good, Brian. I'm excited to hear that. Okay, Jeffrey's just beginning the journey. Okay, fantastic. All right, this is good. This will help me as we're framing out the conversation today. So we are going to start with some key definitions. Okay. So as you've all said, you're familiar with the SDGs. So this is just to be a high-level review of why they're so important and relevant today. We know that we as a society are facing really big challenges in the world today. Poverty, hunger, inequality, and climate change are just some of those. I would actually argue that the inequality that exists in the world is the root cause of all of these. But these are all the challenges we're facing, and inequality has created systems that are not working for us, right? So we're in a process as a world of kind of remanufacturing or renegotiating or reorganizing our systems, and we see that happening around the world. So back in 2012, when the global goals were created, um, there was a plan by everybody across the world. And when I say everybody, I mean government agencies, nonprofits, for-profit sector, the business community, and just key stakeholders to create a plan for 2030 that would help to make sure and actually to ensure that we as a world, as we grow and evolve, that we're able to make sure that everybody has the same access to all different types of resources around the world. And so that's kind of the foundation of the goals. That's kind of the foundation of the United Nations. So this all fits into what's called the 2030 Agenda. So back in September of 2015, 193 countries uh, came together. So 193 countries of the United Nations General Assembly adopted the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. And as you can see here, and everybody hopefully can see my cursor, these are what are called the SDGs. So for example, you can see no poverty, life on land, partnerships. These are all different examples of high level goals that have been created and approved by literally all, I should say all, the vast majority of countries in the world have agreed to these goals and to work towards meeting this 2030 agenda. So a little bit of background, why the SDGs are, why I like them, and I think they're such a great tool, is they're universal goals that meet the urgent needs of today's environmental, political, and economic challenges. They were originally developed in 2012, coming off of the Millennial Development Goals, and it took about 3 years of public consultation. And when I say this was the largest undertaking of a public consultation ever done by the United Nations, it's true. I mean, the United Nations and their key stakeholders spent 3 years gathering data from all of the stakeholders across the world about these goals and then about the sub-targets underneath them. So this game plan has pretty much been vetted, I'm going to say, by the world or by the key stakeholders in the world between 2012 and 2015. What also happened in 2015, so the goals were adopted then in 2015. In 2015, we also had the Paris Climate Accord. I'm not going to say it right. The Sendia. Leah, help me. I know you know how to
I
pronounce
believe
it.
it's Sunday framework.
Sende. Okay, thank you, Leah. And the Sende framework for disaster risk and reduction. So both of those were other independent actions that had occurred through the UN and that were agreed upon in 2015 that coincided timing wise with the SDGs. And so between the Sendai framework and the Paris Climate Accord, as well as the SDGs, we now have these targets to reduce carbon emissions and manage the risks of climate change and natural disasters, so that we as a world are able to build back better and more effectively following disasters. So there are 17 sustainable development goals, and there are 169 targets underneath the SDGs. And you say, wow, that's a lot of targets. Yes, yes, there are. And those targets are interdependent and interlinked to the 17 SDGs, so the 17 goals, okay? So what that means is if you look at this lovely picture here, we cannot achieve gender equity without also achieving zero hunger. Okay, so everything is interdependent and interconnected together. They're taking the history of sustainability and they've baked that into these goals. So true systems thinking or true sustainability thinking has everything interconnected and interdependent. Okay, so in order to advance this goal for 2030, all of the SDGs work together to make that advancement. Okay, so we're going to show some examples of Sustainable Development Goal targets that are from the WHO or the World Health Organization. And so there's different colors here. So as you can see, the green one, the green targets here, this is from SDG number 3. The red is from SDG number 5. This is actually a different color. It's a little bit deeper red. It's SDG 1. SDG 6. So these are the different sustainable development goals, but their targets or these sub areas within each of them are interconnected together. So when we're going to use the example here of healthy lives and well-being for all, because let's be honest, this is something that all organizations are concerned with, right? We want to make sure all of our workforce is healthy. We want to, so SDG number 3, healthy workforce. So that target has additional information about what you could do to create a healthy workforce and the language to use so that you can help to ensure that this is part of your system. SDG 3.D is the national and global health risks. So that sub-target, especially following on COVID, has really taught us that we as a business or organization, we really need to work together with others to figure out how to address national and global health risks. And the pandemic was a huge, I think, eye-opener for many people around the world. Just how our system is all interconnected again. And so we all have to be aware of that. Other things like other SDGs that fit into the lives and well-being of all. SDG 6.1 is drinking water, 6.2 is sanitation and hygiene. So you might think, well, businesses may not be concerned about those, but organizations might. I mean, we're in the United States. I'm in Wisconsin, but we've heard a lot about Michigan over the last 10 years about drinking water in Flint, Michigan, and other parts of Michigan. So even in developed countries, drinking water is still a human health issue. So as you can see, these are different sub-targets. If you were to click, this is actually from the World Health Organization website. If you were to click under each of these, you will see more additional information. Now, please note everything in here is linked. So like all of these parts where it says learn more, these are all linked. We'll be sharing the slides after presentation with the recording. So you can go through and look at all the different information. Here's another example of a sub-target. So this is for goal number 5, which is gender equity. And the very first one up here, I have it circled in red, is end all forms of discrimination against all women and girls everywhere. This is very important if you're in a business, because the reality is we still have a gender equity pay gap in the United States or in developing countries. And then in developed countries, and in developing countries, I think it may even be worse. So understanding how these sub-targets could then map into actions that your business could choose to take, I think is very important, especially from a strategic standpoint. So if you have done a pay equity assessment of your workforce and you understand that there are gaps and some of those gaps may be tied to gender, you could literally, by putting a strategy in place to address those gaps, to bring the pay so it's more equitable for all of your workforce, that would be a great way to address this example of an SDG. And then you could tell the story about what you've done in your organization. So what I'm trying to showcase is that these targets can also be very strategic, and they can help you from a strategy standpoint to set the strategy and the goals for your organization as well. All right, so now we're going to talk about mapping the tools for sustainability action to the SDGs. So we're going to take a moment, and I want to go back to the chat. How many of you have mapped in your SDGs? So you all said you're familiar with them, but how many of you are taking and mapping out the SDG, like the one I just used gender as an example, but have mapped a target to some of the goals or missions of your organization? Can you please tell us on the chat how many of you have done that? Or if you're just starting to think about doing that? And of course, I'm not saying you have to do all 17 SDGs, but if you, whatever SDGs are germane or material to your organization. Just starting to think about it. Okay, that's awesome, Alana. That's great. Well, I'm glad you're here. Hopefully this will be useful to you to learn about. Anybody else want to share? Good, Brian, congratulations. You've mapped out a target on SDG number 2. That's awesome. And Jeffrey, it's good that you're just starting to think about so this is good. So Brian, congratulations. You started this journey. And everybody else, welcome to this journey, because this is a journey. True sustainability actions are not a one and done. They're about continuous improvement, and it is a journey. So we're going to now talk about a really great tool that was created in partnership between the United Nations Global Compact, it's the business arm of the UN, and B Lab Global back between 2018 and 2020. And this tool is called the SDG Action Manager tool. It debuted in spring or late January 2020. And Evolution Marketing, actually my company, we were one of the beta testers of it in 2019. So the screenshots we'll be sharing in a couple of minutes came from our beta testing phase. Anyway, this tool is built on the platform that the certified B Corps use, which is called the B Impact Assessment. So that platform was leveraged to create the SDG Action Manager tool. And as you can see here, it ties into all of the 17 SDGs. So what's really cool about the SDG Action Manager tool, in addition to the fact that it's built on the B Impact Assessment platform, what's awesome is that it's free. It's a free public good that any business, any organization, any nonprofit can use today. You could go set up an account and go in and start using it. Some things to be aware of: it's not audited. It is meant as an internal impact management tool. So that means it's made for you as an organization to work with internally within your system. So you're using the tool to help you make strategic decisions. And then what we'll be talking about a little bit later today is then once you've made those decisions and you're mapping and these actions, you're going to want to talk about impact storytelling and how you can use this tool to also help you. I should say you could use the SDGs to help you tell your sustainability story. If you choose, so say you want to be audited, then what you would do is you would choose to take everything you put into the SDG Action Manager tool, and then you would move that over to the B Impact Assessment. On the back side of the portal, you can very easily do that. And then all the questions you've already answered for the SDG Action Manager tool will map into your B Impact Assessment. And then you just have additional questions to answer if you did want to become a B Corp, because how businesses become a B Corp is they complete the B Impact Assessment. And then that process, after they've submitted the information, it goes through an auditing and verifying process with B Lab. And so that's how you can then make statements about your social and environmental performance that have been audited by a third party. Okay. So in regards to the SDG Action Manager tool, it's not audited, which is just fine, I think, because it's made to be an internal impact management tool. So here's what the dashboard looks like. And as you can see, they have a list of all the questions. So I had not answered all the questions at this point when I did this, but I answered 175 of the 100, and there were 120 more questions to be answered. So there's a lot of questions in here. And when you see the panel here, here's the logo for the program. Notice it says beta. No, now it no longer says beta. And when you put your information for your business in or your organization, what comes up is this SDG baseline. And so I highly recommend everyone to do the SDG baseline because this baseline, as you're going to see in a minute, it's actually based on the UN's Global Compact 10 principles. So those 10 principles, which businesses, now we're talking businesses right now, the Global Compact is the business arm of the UN. Those 10 principles are to help businesses address and adopt the 2030 goals, okay? Or the 2030 game plan. So completing that baseline, I would argue, is really important to do. And then after you've completed the baseline, I would argue that you should then, I'll wait. You should then pick out which SDGs are material to your organization. So for example, for evolution marketing, decent work and economic growth, this was very material to evolution marketing when I completed this in 2019. I didn't feel that no poverty, zero hunger, or good health and well-being were as material to my business because we are a small consultancy located in Wisconsin. But what I found out through completing the entire by completing the entire SDG Action Manager tool is that actually evolution marketing was taking actions in all of the SDGs. I didn't think we were, but once I went through and filled out information on all of them, because everything is interdependent, interconnected, I realized that we actually were. So that helped even educate me and help me to better understand how everything is interconnected. So here are some of the benefits for using the SDG Action Manager tool. First of all, it's great for you for starting off. If you're not sure where to begin, you're interested in addressing sustainability in your organization, and you're not sure where to begin, this tool is great to help you to do that, especially if you complete that first module. Once you've done that, then choose other ones, other SDGs, graphics here. They're in different sections. You choose the ones that are material to your organization. This will also help you to understand and share your impact, because as you go through the process of learning about the SDGs and using this tool to think about your business, you are learning through the process. It's going to also help you to set goals and to track improvement. And you can use this tool to help your organization on its own learning journey. As we talked about before, true sustainability is holistic and it's ongoing and it's based on continuous improvement. So we are all really on a learning journey. And what's nice about this tool is that you'll see in a minute, there's additional information inside of it. So this can help you to determine what you need to train your staff with or what information you need to share with your team to help them on the learning journey. And after the first year of being open, being alive, being out publicly, there were over 15,000 companies that had started using the SDG Action Manager tool. So that number came from 2021, and the program was launched in 2020. So I think that's pretty amazing. And again, this is a free tool. It's open to everyone. So now we're going to do a deep dive and I'm going to show you some examples. I'm using carbon, so SDG number 13, climate action. I'm using that as my example because many of you are coming at this from the environmental sustainability space or interested in working in environmental sustainability or trying to address carbon in your business. So I'm going to use this as an example. Okay. So as you can see here, we have the target, we have the SDG 13, we have the target. So this target is 13.1. Strengthen resilience and adaptive capacity to climate-related hazards and natural disasters in all countries. So there's only 3 sub-targets here, but this is one of them. The next 2 are integrate climate change measures into national policies and strategies and planning. And 13.3, improve education, awareness raising, and human institutional capacity on climate change mitigation, adaptation, impact reduction, and early warning. And you might say, well, none of these are really relevant to my business. I would argue that understanding resilience and adaptivity of your business, especially again, I'm talking about Wisconsin, but where my business is located, we have a lot of 300-year-old trees around our property and around our community. And we have had a lot of really big storms come through over the last 6 years. And those storms will take down trees and they'll take down power lines, which then impacts, so then I lose power. That impacts my ability to work at Evolution Marketing and to help our clients. So back in 2022, we made the strategic decision to put solar panels on our homes, the home-based business, and put a battery backup. So we have Generac battery backup here at our office, at our home office. And that's helped us that we can continue to be resilient. So we're building resiliency into our business operations. Now, I know this is like a big topic. And so this is just one example of something that you could do from a business standpoint. Okay, so here's what the Action Manager tool looks like. So it shows up here the overall score, the number of questions answered. And then what I like down here is that it helps you to think about business models designed to contribute to climate action. If you were to click this, you'd learn more about what those models could look like. So it's very educational. And I like that because it helps us all to understand and again, continue our learning journey. So here's an example of actually a question within it. So this is, remember, I did this in 2019. So has your company done any of the following to help identify and manage its potential contributions to SDG 13? So at the time, we were familiar with SDG 13, and we have a formal commitment to align our business with the Paris Agreement and measure progress towards that. So based on answering this question, then the next question comes up that says, what is your total greenhouse gas emissions for scope 1? It actually goes through all 3 scopes, but I'm just showing the example from scope 1. And what you see up here in the learn section is if you have questions, you're like, hey, I don't know what scope 1 is, click this and you can learn about scope 1 and it'll tell you how to calculate that. What I also like is that for this question in the SDG Action Manager tool, it also shows you what other, by answering this question, what other SDGs you're having impact in. So we're having impact in affordable and clean energy, SDG 7, and SDG 14, life below water. Okay, and then the thing that I like best about the SDG Action Manager tool is that it talks about potential risks that your company's activities pose. And I think this is important, having an open, honest conversation about each of the SDGs from the standpoint of risk and risk to your business. And because again, I own a business, so I'm very concerned about mitigating those risks. So I like the fact that the tool unpacks all of that and helps us to think about things we may not have been aware of. We're going to now showcase some SDGs and impact reports. So this is from the Evolution Marketing 2021-22 Impact Report. The area I have highlighted here in this hot pink shows how we talk about the SDGs. So we literally say that in 2021 and 2022, we're working to meet these specific targets. We believe that by grounding our day-to-day operations, actions, and strategic business decision-making, Within the framework of the United Nations SDGs, our business will be able to help create a more just and equitable world while mitigating climate risk. Then here are the actual targets. So the SDGs here, the targets that we're working within. And then if you were to view our report, you would actually see the different actions we've taken further on in the report. So this is one way to showcase those actions in an impact report. Here's one of our clients, Biosystems Engineering. They're out of North Carolina, and they are an engineering, traceability, and biochar carbon accreditation company. So they're a professional service business. And when they started their organization, they created what's called a mutual equity initiative. And so they take 5% of their yearly earnings of gross revenue, and they contribute it to the mutual equity initiative. And then, as you can see here, in a very transparent manner, they show in 2020, 2021, 2022, how much money that was. And then they link below that to the SDGs that the money that they had went into supporting these SDGs. And how they did that was through showcasing their partners, their mutual equity partners. And so this is just one example. They have several in their impact report, but this is the 2022 mutual equity partner. And the project, it's the Autism Support and Advocacy Center. The project that they do here, talk about the project, it supports these 4 SDGs. So it's a very clear way for the public and the customers of BE to see and understand why they're supporting this project. So now you say, okay, this is great, Lisa. You showed us some impact reports. Now, why is this important? I want to touch back upon last month's webinar where we talked about stakeholders and how your stakeholders care about this information. And the first webinar we gave, we talked about we've entered into an era of, I'm going to say, uber transparency. From a business standpoint, consumers want to know, stakeholders want to know what your business is doing. So why I like using the SDGs, because to me, they are a simple and straightforward way for organizations to articulate their social and environmental impacts with their stakeholders, okay? And using the SDG graphic, that's such a nice way as a visual to showcase these actions. And I had this great number. So get this, in 2019, according to the World Economic Forum, 74% of adults globally were aware of the Sustainable Development Goals. And so if they're aware of the Sustainable Development Goals, the number is probably much higher today. Because that was 2019 and we're halfway to the 2030 agenda, but then using the graphics is a really nice way to bring those visuals forward to help further tell your story and showcase how the organization's progressing towards sustainability initiatives with your stakeholders. So now we are going to open it up for a Q&A. And if anyone who's listening liked this webinar and wants to continue to receive free information from Evolution Marketing about these topics, please click the QR code and sign up for our e-newsletter. We send them out monthly, and we always have resources in each of our newsletters to help advance all of us on our sustainability learning journeys. And I'm going to now go to Leah. If you have questions, please put them in the chat. Please let us know what you'd like to learn more about. Or if you need any clarifications on anything that was covered today.
I have a question, Lisa, to kick us off here. How can businesses use the SDGs to drive competitive advantage?
That's a great question, Leah. So I'm going to say, showcasing in a clear and transparent manner the actions that business organization are taking within sustainability that's able to be measured year over year, that's able to provide a competitive advantage in the business world. And what I mean by that is that, and there's a myriad of data. So this isn't just Lisa saying this, but there's a myriad of data out there that talks about how customers, so it could be whether it's your suppliers, it could be your customers, it could be your end users, it could even be your your shareholders, who would all be considered stakeholders, want to know what actions businesses are taking right now to address climate change and also to address basically the challenges the world is facing. We know that there are a number of really big social problems, for lack of a better way of saying it, that are impacting the entire world. And businesses need to be showcasing what actions they're taking because their consumers not only want to know it, but they're starting to demand it. And I would encourage anybody who doesn't believe me to watch our first webinar, because we had really great, I don't remember all of the data points, but we had some really great data points that show that today in 2024, and this is the number that, this is the point that kind of blows my mind. Today, businesses is expected to solve social problems and climate problems. And that number comes from Elderman, the Elderman Trust Survey, which is done globally yearly. Up until the recent past, it was always government was the most likely or most expected to address problems. And if it wasn't government, it was nonprofits. In 2024, it flipped. It's now business. So business is being asked, I shouldn't say asked, business is being told by their stakeholders that they are now more trusted to solve world problems and social problems. And so if your business is able to articulate, and or organization really too, if you're a nonprofit, if you're able to articulate what actions you're taking and show those impacts, you're going to have a definite market advantage, because it's going to separate you out from your competition, because this is something that is, it's coming. It's been coming for a while in the United States, but this is being fully transparent about your actions is something that a lot of people are hesitant to do. And they're hesitant to do it because we live in a compliance world, and there's a compliance mindset. And we have all kinds of things happening within the United States and globally tied to making statements and claims about green marketing or about carbon. And so a lot of businesses are just scared, or they don't know what to say, so they don't say anything. And that's a problem, because when you're not sharing what you're actually doing, your stakeholders aren't able to learn about you, and that's impacting your bottom line. You may not realize it, but it's happening, because literally, according to Elderman, and this is true because we're seeing it in the business world, your stakeholders want this information and they're expecting business to solve the problem. So you're going to have a market advantage, or you're going to differentiate yourself in the market space if you're able to articulate this. And here's the other thing. You want to be open and honest. And you can say, you know what? We're beginning our journey, and that is okay. Talk about what you have done and where you are on this journey. Not every business needs to be 100% carbon neutral tomorrow or at this moment. I mean, yes, that would be great. But if you're starting to address carbon, for example, in your organization, great. That you're starting, you're taking this on, and you're working towards a goal. And I think that's very important for stakeholders to understand. Hopefully that answers your question, Leah. Other folks that have questions? If anybody who's listening wants to come off their mic, they can. Oh, there's a question. Okay, hang on. Leah, do you want to ask me the question from the chat?
Sure. Question from Brian. Brian is currently challenged on a standard tool for, sorry, I'm just rereading before I articulate here. It sounds like Brian's having some challenges with the standard tool, but definitely wants to give the SDG Action Manager a go to see if this tool can kind of help implement some of these challenges within his organization.
And Brian, if you want to come off the mic and tell us, I mean, is the challenge is the challenge that you're trying to find one tool that can work across your organization? Or is it that you found a tool and it's not meeting what your needs are?
Thank you so much. Thomas Brian from Uganda. Happy to be here. The session is really nice. I'm learning something. I'm a bit challenged on getting a standard tool I can use for the entire organization in terms of reporting and learning. We are focused in conservation. We oppose conservation, so we do conservation work on aquatic species. So, but we had aligned to focus on malnutrition and then life on land. But in terms of reporting and sharing impact, I'm still challenged on getting a standard tool. I've tried out so many apps, like you shift from this one to this one, but getting one that you can align with. I don't know whether that's clear.
Yeah, no, that is. And tell me, I'm gonna repeat this back and you tell me if this is right. it sounds like you've tried a variety of different apps that were out there, and they might have been in one specific area, and then they weren't holistic. And so they would send you to somebody else's app. Is that right?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Okay. I think the SDG Action Manager tool will actually be really good for you, Brian. Again, it's going to help you from a strategic standpoint. So if you do that first module, you complete the first module, and then you pick out the SDGs that are most germane to your company. So, I mean, the water one, hunger education might be important too. Increase in SDG number 10 is inequalities. So increase equity. Those ones might be really relevant to your organization to also help you then from more of a strategy standpoint, right? Of these are the things that we can start working on right now. And then from there, you can start tracking and measuring and monitoring what those things look like for your organization with the sub-targets. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. Yes, it makes sense.
I think you'll like it. Good luck with it, and I guess if you have questions, let me know. I don't know everything there is to know about the SDG Action Manager, but I know I really like it. It's a great tool for, I'm going to say, businesses with small to medium businesses. If you have over 500,000, if you have over 5,000 workers, maybe the SDG Action Manager tool, you can use it, but maybe there are other tools that are out there. And why I say that is the Global Reporting Initiative has been working with the UN Compact Group to come up with a way to map in the SDGs into the Global Reporting Initiative. So that's another third-party reporting initiative, but that's only for really publicly traded super large corporations. Whereas the SDG Action Manager tool is, I'm going to argue, is for small to mid-sized businesses. You, as a publicly traded company, you could use it, but I don't think you're that big. So I think it would be a good tool for you to use, because again, you're a smaller business, right?
Yes, please. We are a non-profit, so it would be
Oh,
good.
perfect. You're a nonprofit. Yes, even better. So then, okay, awesome. So thank you, Brian, for being a nonprofit. So then you can take and you can produce what's called an impact report. Like we talked about those examples I showed, you can show those examples of the actions you're taking. And depending on where you're doing the work, you could also then share your report to the UN. I know there's another nonprofit that I've provided some advice to, and I support here in Wisconsin that works globally. And they very much like to take all of the actions that they're doing and develop in countries and map it into the SDGs. And then they use that to tell their impact storytelling, which is highly successful. And then they share that out with not only funders to the organization, but I believe they also share it out with the UN. So you could do the same thing. So I know that there are grants and things like that, that the UN, you could use your report as a way to show the UN what you're doing.
I will definitely check it out.
Awesome. Thank you. Are there
I'll keep in touch, I think, either on LinkedIn or I'll subscribe to the newsletter, then I can be able to respond.
Yes, that'll be great. And yes, feel free, Brian, to connect with me on LinkedIn. And any other attendees, if you have any questions, any other questions? Is there another
It looks
question?
like, yeah, Ariana has a question. My company is currently a B Corp. Is the SDG Action Manager directly connected to the BIA or is it disconnected? I'm just wondering if goals met in the SDG Action Manager have to be manually entered in the BIA when they go to recertify.
No, so they're actually connected together. So when you go into your dashboard or your portal for the B Impact Assessment, it should say B Impact Assessment at the top, and then below it, it should say SDG Action Manager. So if you have been, yeah, because, well, I don't know when the last time you recertified was, but we're working on our third recertification right now. And our second one, I know the SDG Action Manager, what was our second? I'm losing track of time. Let's just say it was 2021, I think. So we had used the Action Manager tool before that. So all of our Action Manager tool information was already in our B Impact Assessment. So if you have not recertified since, you probably should have though. Or if you're right now getting ready to recertify. Anyway, if you haven't done your B Impact Assessment recently, you would have to put the information to the SDG Action Manager, and then it would map it into the B Impact Assessment. But if you've already done a recent research, or when you did your first certificate. I don't know what year you did that, but when you did that, there should have been questions for the SDG Action Manager, should have been built into the B impact assessment.
Awesome, perfect. Yeah, sorry, I unmuted myself, but we just got like officially certified, I think last year in the fall. So we're pretty newbies, but I just want to make sure that as we slowly grow that I can just have it all in one place. And so there's not like a million different areas that you're doing all this.
Well, first of all, congratulations. Welcome to the B Corp community. We're a
Yeah.
certified B Corp, so we love talking to other certified B Corps. And yeah, you should have, I bet if you just go look at the back of the portal and see. I know I did everything first in SDG Action Manager and then I recertified, so it was already in for me.
Mhm.
But you can also go and you can do it separately too.
Awesome, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.